Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Over Coffee, our morning talk show on the Long Island Tabletop Streaming Network, where we talk about games or just about anything else you want to talk about. Sometimes we only cover the news with the games. We talk about just random topics. It's fantastic. I hope you get a chance to listen to us while you're getting ready for work or watch later on Twitch or YouTube. And I'm here with my co hosts, Rich and John, and I guess Doug is either going to chime in shortly. We'll see what happens. And don't forget to hit that follow button, or if you're watching on YouTube, that subscribe. And what have you guys been up to over the weekend? Did you get a chance to play any games?
Well, we did basically D&D on Friday,
Oh yes, I listened in. It was fun. It was
and
good.
they did their first cave, and every time they got quiet, I threw rats at them because I had a couple of mechanisms to keep things going.
Oh, that's what you were doing. I was wondering why those rats always popping up. I didn't realize that was like on
And it's because they would
purpose.
get silent, so it's like,
Oh, there's
all right,
Doug. Hey,
eh,
Doug.
you're gonna get
No,
if you're gonna get silent, I'm gonna throw rats at you.
yeah, but like I also don't want to be talking over everybody. So you could just at any time that things get too quiet, you could just say, "John, what are you guys doing?" And I could be like, "I don't know." Like,
I didn't. I wasn't. It wasn't an overwhelming amount of rats. It's not like I said.
no, but like,
I
yeah,
have a pie. You know what? What's great is most of these caves don't replenish, so I get to read ahead in the caves, and when they don't go in a certain direction or I forget, like the rats were supposed to attack during the pit, and I didn't use them at the pit, and I was like, oh, I could have used these at the pit,
Right.
but I thought it was a much better. I thought it was a much better fight scene without them at the pit. So I just took all of them, I threw them on my piece of paper, and as things came up, they would attack. So
Now you're doing basically D&D, so this is like first iteration of Dungeons and Dragons,
this
right?
is basic. This
Yeah.
is this is the box set. This is before advanced.
And I noticed one thing, you've mentioned this before, but might be curious to our listeners at home, is the Dungeon Master makes all the rolls. Is that right?
The dungeon master makes all calls that are not covered by the rules, and in fact, the box sets are the first ones that actually state on the box in the rules that not everything is covered by the rules. These are guidelines, and the dungeon master could basically do what he wants
Okay, but what
within
about
reason.
but what about dice rolling? It seemed like you rolled. When did the characters roll dice? I saw them rolling the dice at some point, but
Usually for initiative and combat.
okay. And then also the other question I have for you is just because it's different is were you rolling a d6 for initiative?
Yes.
That's what was in the original basic rules.
Yes. Yeah. You roll a d6 and you roll every round.
Right, I noticed that too. Right, yeah. So it was a little different listening in and be like, what are they doing? Guys, don't you roll a d20 and add your dexterity modifier for initiative?
I kind of like the simultaneous initiative. Like, I think it does kind of help to speed things up a little bit. I mean, I know some of the later games kind of put a greater emphasis on, moving at certain times for adding more, not I don't know, versatility, but like ways to kind of like build your character.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, there's something straightforward and simple to be like, monsters go, you go, or you both go at the same time. So if everybody's simultaneous, you have to really think about what you're going to do. Otherwise, like, yeah, you don't want to be targeting something and then the next player over to you just kills it. And then it's like, all right, well, now I have to rethink my strategy, you know?
Right. And to John's point, the only thing that I was doing wrong on Friday, well, maybe not the only thing, but one of the things that I was doing wrong on Friday was the anybody with a bow, missile weapons should go first. There's an order of precedent in combat, where it goes missile weapons, melee weapons, spells, or
Even
missiles and
if there's a different,
spells.
even if somebody has a higher initiative than somebody, you do all missile weapons
No,
first.
no, 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 no,
In
no.
the older
Oh,
editions, initiative doesn't exist.
No, no, no. What would happen was whoever won initiative, their side would do all of their components first. Then the other
oh,
side would do all of their. But the reason why the order matters is because if you have a guy and he's shooting in a bow, he may kill the guy that you were fighting.
okay, right.
The one
So
thing I think that, like, still kind of trips me up a little bit is the fact that with older editions, the way that you do skills is slightly different than newer ones. In that,
yes,
so for combat, you roll. Well, even Thaco, I still think I get the idea, but I hate the idea of making hitting like a math problem. You know, like just simply having it where sending armor class, I think it just makes it much cleaner. But that's not even what I'm getting at.
No,
My
it's fair.
main
I
point,
understand what you're saying.
my main
I
point of
mean,
contention is that, like, okay, if you're trying to hit something, you want to roll high, but then when you're trying to accomplish a skill, like say, oh, I want to lift something up over my head, or I want to try to like I want to do something involving like my wisdom and my strength. You're supposed to roll and get under your stat score. I mean, that's the one justification for why you want to have like better stats later on. Is that like, okay, like if you have a strength of 15, you need to get a 15 or lower in order to hit it. It's not
Right.
like you have a target number and you roll that target number, because I guess that means the only thing I can think of is that, like, would you say that it's designed so that people can still accomplish anything, or the exact opposite of, like, if you're not strong enough to do something, it's either going to be much, much harder, or you shouldn't be able to do it? It kind of makes it more like, I'm trying to think like how the statistics would work out for rolling in that situation. You know what I mean?
Well, what it does is it gives people a chance to do most things, and they could get lucky, right? That's what it really boils down to. Think about making a strength check. You could get lucky, right? You could get lucky and get something from the right angle. So you're trying to push a rock out of the way, and I say, okay, give me a strength check. And if you've got an 8, you're weak. But hey, every once in a while, you get lucky. You're on the right thing. It slides. It does something, right? You
Right.
could do it. You don't always need that 18 strength to get stuff out of the way. However, there is and I'm not up to it yet, but there are alternatives. I think they were introduced in Dragon Magazine to a skill system for D&D, for basic D&D, and I will get to them. As a matter of fact, I think I'm still reading the current Dragon Magazine because I haven't read in a little over a week, so I have to get back to reading, but because that's the whole point is I read something new and I incorporate it. Like I
Okay.
can't I can't wait till we get to advanced because I read The Duelist, and The Duelist is a new class they introduced in advance from Dragon Magazine, and I think it's going to be awesome. It's it's the public version of the assassin, basically.
Oh, all right. That's interesting.
So the way
I
they
mean, I understand the skill system. It makes sense because your skills go up to 15, right? So anything below 15 will be, like a pass, right? So if that was a difficult, roll, you have 1 to 15 as like a pass, right? And then everything above that would
No,
be.
your skills can go above a 15. I was just using it as an example.
No, I know. I'm using that as an example as well. Like if that's the difficulty, 15 is the difficulty. Then you get 1 to 15 is a score. You win. Like your skill is at 15, right? So you have 1 to 15 to it. You've grown to 15. I think that was their logic there. I think that having like an AC where it's like your target is like, sorry, not AC, but THACO. THACO is definitely the weirdest thing that I ever worked with. But THACO, weird. Sounds like a weapon.
It was supposed to be an easy way to determine what number you need to hit the opponent.
Yeah, well, because like Gary Gygax loved charts. He was a chart guy, and so that everything was based off of a chart. So when you do the statistics themselves work, right? The math works statistically, but the fact that they dumped it instead of reducing it down to an easy formula and flipping the numbers, right? Because they could have easily flipped the numbers, because of that. What they didn't do is they didn't make it easier. They said, "Oh, well, these are the charts I use, so you go look it up," because they had it memorized. And for a long time, the reason why today in fifth edition I generally don't bring books to the table. The only thing is I usually bring the stat blocks for the monsters, but I don't bring books to the table because I don't need them. I generally know the rules, right? And I get them wrong sometimes, but generally I know the rules, and it makes for a smoother game when there's no books. And when I was playing first edition all the time, the table was easy. It was easy to memorize, you know. Um, But the fact that there was a different table for the fighter and for the cleric and for the magic user and for that made it a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, Thacker wasn't universal. That was rough.
I forgot about that too. I forgot that Thaco is not the same. Like rather than just taking the obvious idea of like, oh well, then some fighters will have better bonus or modifiers for certain things.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's that everybody hits on different numbers. It's like, yeah, but now like you have to memorize, and the average person's not going to do that. So
Right.
Yeah. It's
All
true.
right, cool. Hey, Doug, are you feeling better?
Yeah, I'm okay. I injured myself this weekend, so
Oh, you're not painting this morning, right?
Oh my God, what's going on with you?
I have no idea. I got off a chairlift snowboarding and I
No.
twisted the wrong way. I didn't even fall. I just twisted the wrong way, and my elbow is in such agony that I think last night I took like Tylenol PM. I never take any kind of medicine. But yeah, and now I'm drowsy, so I did not get out of bed this morning.
Well, thanks for joining us for Over Coffee. You're a super trooper.
You said Super Trooper.
The snozberries taste like snozberries.
Could somebody type in chat what that means, please?
It's from the movie.
No,
we know what it is.
Oh, it's from the movie Snooper Troopers. Okay, I thought it was from Willy Wonka.
It's from both.
Oh, okay.
Originally, it was from Willy Wonka.
Okay.
All right, here I got to cover the news before I got to split.
Okay. Like a banana.
I don't have to, but
no, do it.
Hey, from Tabletop Gaming News. Okay, is this one really a game? No, not really, but there is a campaign that includes a mini role-playing game adventure. I'm sorry, this Kickstarter campaign includes a mini role-playing adventure with it. But it basically is brought to us by the folks that did Baby Bestiary, and it is an insanely cute little owl bear plushie. So check that out, Baby Bestiary on Kickstarter. WizCards.
Oh, I got to bring you guys. You know what? I'm sorry, that reminded me. I have my a friend of mine did these owl bear dice bags. I got to bring.
Oh.
I got to get the link.
Wow. Here's a plushie.
Taking.
People are buying it just for the plushies. Anyway, WizKids announced a partnership with everyone's favorite role-playing show, or at least most people's favorite role-playing show on Twitch and YouTube.
What is wrong with you, Dave?
Critical Role. They have announced that they'll be creating miniatures based on the popular series, with both monsters, PCs, and NPCs making appearances in the miniature line.
That's interesting. I think that'll be a nice money boost for WizKids.
Yeah, money grab. Their models have not really been incredibly outstanding, and sometimes the painting job is pretty poor. So I guess we'll see what happens.
I will disagree with you. I think that they did better in some aspects than Reaper did for a lot of the monsters, but
Okay.
they're smaller miniatures. That would represent like PCs and vampires. Some of them are, I will agree, they're very not detail oriented as well, and it's just a little bit flimsy. But I think their bone golem for like Pathfinder adventures was like one of the best.
Right.
Best bone golems I've seen.
a lot of the complaints I used to get too was that with a lot of things that they'd have to make multiple molds for. So if this is something where they can make the molds once and just reuse them constantly, it's probably less likely that they're going to do something bad than something where they have to make multiple molds, or they might reuse the same molds.
Yeah.
Like that was a common complaint with HeroClix because they have to constantly make more and more stuff for HeroClix, so they'd often just reuse molds or alter them slightly, and people you can really tell when they basically either copied something outright and just repainted it, or when they made just slight variations and they just didn't really care about how the mains came out after the fact. So which is they might just actually just take the effort to say, we'll make some general, a new custom molds, but because we only have to make like 8 or 9 of them, we'll make sure that these come out pretty solid,
Right. Okay. That sounds good. From Dice Tower News, the popular board game Kingdom Rush Rift in Time, I've not heard of that, but is getting a sequel in the near future from Lucky Duck Games. The new game Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising is a standalone game that uses the same cooperative system as its predecessor, but you need not to have played the original game in order to pick this one up. That's Kingdom Rush Elemental Uprising, if you're interested. And there is a solitaire component to that, which is interesting. And then from Board Game Geek News, I've got cooperative game system used in the Portals award-winning Detective: A Modern Crime board game. So I have heard of that, and I've heard some people say it's pretty good. They are coming out with Dune House Secrets, and it's using the same game system. It delivers a deeply thematic experience that drops 1 to 5 players in the middle of the highest stakes unfolding of the harsh desert planet of Arrakis.
1 to 5. What kind of game is that?
It's a detective modern crime board game system, and basically, I think you flip some cards and you're basically going on an investigation. It sort of unfolds just like you're a detective.
Oh, okay. So instead of it being combat based, they're putting you right in the middle of the politics
Yes.
of Dune and Arrakis.
Yes.
Which is weird because that's not where the politics took place. But okay.
Yeah. Something like that. I mean, I haven't seen the game yet. I never played detective, but looks interesting at least. So that's
Yeah.
it for the news.
So that's interesting because I mean, have any of you read the Dune series out?
Yeah, we talked about this before, but I have not read everything.
Oh, okay. Because Arrakis doesn't exist anymore. It was destroyed. It was destroyed with everything on it. So, that being the case, this must have taken place backwards in time.
Yeah, probably.
Definitely.
Sorry, that's what happens when you read a book series. You start to
ruin it for everyone else.
ruin it for everyone else. But honestly, if it takes place during the House series books, then that would be really great because there were a lot of backstabbing politics going on at that time. And then whenever you bring the witches of the I keep wanting to say Aes Sedai, and that's not the same series. The Aes Sedai is Wheel of Time. Bene Gesserits. Bene Gesserits. They were very political and they manipulate everybody. So I think that'd be that's pretty interesting, Dave.
I like how in the board game, the Bene Gesserit, they don't have to pay the guild to get onto the planet. Anytime somebody moves in the board game, they get to add a quote unquote spiritual advisor, which means that they add units to the board with, along with any troops that move around. That's how they get on the board. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that makes sense. That actually makes sense when you read through the books. So, they had a sister. They had a sister in every house, except for House Atreides until Jessica married the Duke.
Right.
For most of time, they had an advisor everywhere, and until that time, and then they didn't have it in House Atreides at all.
Right. Cool. And I got a chance to play with Anthony again this weekend. We played No Retreat North Africa, and I'm also just recruited 2 more people for a multiplayer Dominions 5 game. So I'm pretty excited.
Good. Gives Anthony more people to target and kill.
Yeah, me.
That's what you want to give, right? You want to give a crazy, insane board game guy more people to kill.
Well, there you go.
Way to go, Dave.
Thank you. Mission accomplished.
Dave setting them up for the slaughter.
Well, you know what it is Dave was tired of getting his butt kicked all the time by Anthony.
I won the last game.
Oh, you're 1 up?
Yeah, I'm 1 and 9. It's okay.
It only takes one. It's like when you're playing chess versus someone. You keep getting pummeled by them, and then one day when you beat them, it's like, finally on your level.
See, I could beat you. It took you 30 tries. Doesn't matter. It's all right. I'm I'm really good at chess, and I used to, but when I bragged about it, I played a friend of mine who was only half-heartedly into the game, and he beat me. And I was like, oh, maybe I should have paid attention instead of saying how good I was. And I didn't. I just wasn't paying attention, and I made a stupid move, and he just took advantage of it relatively quickly too. So
That's funny.
it is. It is. So humility is more than just state of mind.
It's a river in Egypt.
So
You say you
John,
were gonna a four-syllable word.
yeah. What are you eating? Kicks?
Cornflakes.
All right. Cornflakes are okay.
I'm surprised I don't hear a lot of crunching.
Cornflakes are also very good as a coating to chicken.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. But I
Go ahead.
do Doritos.
What?
Try Doritos instead.
You know,
So like a Dorito encrusted chicken.
I've never done that. Oh, what about fire Cheetos?
Also, I hear very good.
I have never tried that, but I'm wondering. Now, would you would you air fry them?
I've done things like that. Yeah. Air fryer's good, man. Like, you can put a lot in the air fryer. You can put things with all sorts of stuff on the air fryer. It's a little different when it comes down to batter and crust, but it still works.
All right. All right. So it looks like I am still in Dragon Magazine issue 73. I'm still reading through. I have.
How long have you been doing it? Have you been reading those?
Oh, I you know what it is I don't get as much reading as done as I can, but I've read the basic box rule set. I've read all of B1. I've read Star Frontiers basic rules, Polyhedron number 10, Keep on the Borderlands, and in Dragon Magazine, I'm also reading the expert rules set, and I was going to read Star Frontiers expanded rules, but I think next game what we'll do is we'll take another vote as to what we're going to try afterwards. And that what I'll do is I'll focus on whatever we're going to try next. I'm not going to throw anything away from Star Frontiers, right? I think at some point we may vote for that, but after Keep on the Borderlands, we'll vote what do we want to play, what do we want to run through next, and what I'll do is I'll focus on that.
That sounds cool, actually.
Yeah. So they have a lot of choices. I'll give everybody 3 votes, and then we'll take the one with the most.
Spinning, so for some reason that reminded me that Ubisoft is supposedly coming out with an open world Star Wars game eventually. They were, I guess, commissioned or told to do so.
They were told to do so. You do this now. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, but so it seems that LucasArts and Lucasfilms and Lucas Games, it's not Disney, whatever, is not solely dealing with EA anymore. Now they're branching out.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, EA screwed the pooch, obviously, in the beginning with Battlefront 2, but it is what it is. But anyway, but I think that it's going to be interesting to see Ubisoft, because Ubisoft has been making a lot of open world games.
Yeah.
And they've been very decent, like the Division 2, very good open world, like MMOE kind of shooter. It's pretty decent. Ghost Recon Wildlands, very good open world game, kind of like GTA in Bolivia, but you're like an operator. It's pretty sweet. That was I thought that was a pretty cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay, that's cool. So we played Project Zomboid. Speaking of open world, again, so that seems to be the game we've been focusing on lately. And the game's got a lot of cool mechanics, by the way. Little things like people look at it, the game is like, well, the graphics aren't that great. But when you play and it's true, right? The graphics are it's isometric, and which isn't bad itself, but The graphics aren't like as fine tuned as some of the games that we see today, but the mechanics, they put a lot of work into the mechanics behind the scene. Things that like the hunger system, the anxious system, the nervous system, the injury system, the whole thing, and the skill trees. And it's pretty cool. And apparently there's another big upgrade coming. I haven't read into it yet. I'm going to. But they have an open world, and their world is Knox County, Kentucky, and you have to survive the zombie apocalypse in Knox County. And we after about 14 days of gameplay, the power goes out and the water stops a little bit after that. You know, whatever's left in the pipes until it's gone.
Oh wow.
So it's you got to prepare yourself for that, and it's always a shock, you know, because you get so used to putting stuff in the refrigerator and stuff like that, and you know, you have to remember, don't eat the canned food first.
Right. Interesting.
So, um,
I will tell you I mean, I watched a lot of The Walking Dead. I haven't seen, I think, the last 2 seasons, but I might have even mentioned this before on the show. But one of the things that I thought was unbelievable was like they were in a church or something like that, and they were preparing for what they were doing next. And so they were foraging and going to collect supplies. And then I watched them take the water out of the back container of the toilet. So
Oh, yeah.
They were like in the bathroom of the church, and you know that container, that ceramic container, you know, on the back of the toilet has, you know, a couple gallons of water in it.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it's a tank. Yep.
Yeah.
So and it's basically clean water. I mean, the tank is not that clean itself, maybe, but really all that's in that tank is, you know, just contaminants from the water. You know, hard, you know, crystallized whatever. You know.
Well, you would boil it anyway. Like you should always
Yeah.
boil water when you can in survival situations.
Yeah.
Right, but that's something that I, you know, until you're in a survival situation, you would never think like, oh, if the water goes out, I'll drink the water behind the toilet. You know.
It's funny because like I actually had a conversation with someone once online. She's like, yeah, my family and I, we talk about the zombie apocalypse all the time, and we always debate what we do. And the general consensus always is find a freshwater source at a high elevation with an easily defensible area close to a few small outlying towns, so that you can go in for supplies if you need to. But freshwater seems to be the optimal goal for
Right.
to survive the zombie apocalypse, because you'll be able to, like, you know, weapons and all that kind of stuff. That's stuff you can find on the way, right? But like water will become scarce eventually. You know, clean water. So the best thing is to find a place that has a, you know, like a freshwater source.
So, rain collection
Mm-hmm.
is a huge thing, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
basically, you know, there's so many. What's interesting is because of all of that, all of the sites about off the grid living and everything have popped up, and more people are doing it, and not because they're preparing for a zombie apocalypse, which was the original reason. I think some of the original reasons behind those sites and some of those guides, but more and more people are doing it because it's because they are taking the better for the planet stance, and
Right.
Well, yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, every decade, the whole average temperature is about 2.5 degrees. If
so
you're paying attention to Colorado this year, there's no, like, some mountains that normally open by the middle of December or early December and late November are not even open right now. It's like the end of January. So
yeah, it also has to do with has to do with because the jet stream
No,
gets altered and stuff like
Yeah.
that. So more and more people are taken to that, and there's things to consider. You know, things that I've been looking into recently because, you know, wanting to build a cabin and all. There's a lot of things to consider, and you don't realize it. Septic, right? How many people would think of septic? Everybody's like, oh, we'll just throw an outhouse and that'll be good. Guess what? It doesn't work forever.
Right.
It doesn't work forever. It doesn't work for long. So you got to think of these things. You got to think of them more and more. So Yeah, it's it's a fun conversation to just sit back and have.
Right.
Not that you'd be fighting for your life, just that how would you do it? How would you go about it?
So I have something interesting in relation to gaming. When I was in high school, I played Twilight 2000 role playing game, and then me and my buddies who all played that game, we went out to go see in the theaters the movie Red Dawn.
Okay.
So
Wait, the new
so
one
then
or the old one?
the original one in the
Okay.
80s. So then we said, oh, let's make a Twilight 2000 campaign where the characters are us. So, I made a David Vanderwerf character in Twilight 2000, and we played a game in Glen Rock, New Jersey, as if the Soviets landed by parachute on our football field. And so it was a good discussion. Talk about discussion. We were like, okay, who do we know has guns? One of my friends' father has several guns. So we're like, what do we do first? We drive to his house, we get the guns. Okay, wait a minute, we forgot our camping gear. Let's go get our camping gear. Let's go up to Harriman State Park.
Right.
And we're like, where are we going to get water? Where are we going to get food? So it was really interesting questions to actually think about what we would literally do if it happened tomorrow. With a Red Dawn scenario, at least.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just conversation.
Yeah.
So, and that brings us to 7:02. So, thank you everyone for listening to our banter about surviving the zombie apocalypse and or the Red Dawn scenario.
Yeah.
Dave, take us home.
All right, everybody. Thanks so much for watching, as Rich just said. And don't forget Uplink Convention, February 20 and 21st. I'll be running a whole bunch of Board Game Arena games on there. Our local Long Islander role-playing gamer, Will, has a couple role-playing games, too. I'll post that all on all my social media soon. And also, I've got several other GMs that I haven't put on the schedule yet, so they're up and coming. And don't forget, what do we got coming up? Tonight, is it World Salad tonight?
No, this is an off week, Dave.
It's an off week. Okay, so next Monday, World Salad. And then Wednesday night, I've got my show. I think AJ is on Tuesday night.
Oh, AJ may be on Tuesday, tomorrow, yes.
Yeah, with Marauder. So I'll post some of that on the Long Island Tabletop social media, too. Those advertisements are coming up. And Wednesday night, my show. Thursday night is Doug's Watching Paint Dry at 7:30. And join us on Wednesday morning, 6:30 again in the morning. Thanks so much. And everybody, have a good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I was going around. Feel better, Doug. Feel better.
Thanks, Dave.
I'll see you guys later.
See you later. Oh, I'm
Uh,
supposed to
Rick.
end this thing, right?